Hello, happiest of days to each of you folks. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day today. So today on Fridays I do my top 10s typically of older things, that sort of thing. I started off doing my top video sci-fi series from the 60s. In TV, done a bunch of new movie things like top 10 sci-fi films, top 10 indie films, foreign language films, all that sort of thing too. I thought it would be nice since this channel started off doing reviews of things like things that you read instead of things that you watched. I thought it would be nice for me to start doing that. I did my last two channels ago. I started with my top 10 authors and that sort of a thing too. And then a second one, and now we did last week, we did books, so I'll link you to that in the comments below, those three, and then this week we're going to be doing my next top 10 books, and that sort of thing too. Alright, so as a reminder, my first favorite book was J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. When I was a kid, it was the first adult book I read right after The Hobbit. I loved it lots. Fantasy became my favorite genre, so you'll see a lot of fantasies here. Then after I read Dracula in high school for fun, not actually for college, it became my favorite novel for like 10 years. And then the next favorite novel when I was in college was Lucifer's Hammer by Larry Niven and J.R.R. All three of those novels were in my top 10 last week. That sort of thing too. So typically this channel reviews older things in those three genres: fantasy, science fiction, and horror. But there's going to be more fantasy novels here just because I've read a lot more and that sort of thing too. Although recently for this channel, I went back and read a bunch of sci-fi novels and that sort of a thing for this channel. A lot of great things and that sort of thing that I hadn't read before. So you can check out. So we got some of those we'll be hitting here too. So I had an honorable mention last time, and so these will actually be, but they're just 10 this time. All right, so number 10 is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, which I write for this channel. In 54, it sort of combines horror and science fiction too, and that sort of thing too. It's sort of a realistic depiction of vampires as in a post-apocalyptic world as the sort of an advanced science fiction take on it rather than the more traditional gothic horror version like Dracula. And that sort of a thing too. So that was where this comes from. I read it for this channel, loved it, and that sort of a thing too. I think it's an absolute classic to my mind. I also love the films, but I don't think the films sort of get it like the Mega Man that I've seen too. All right, so that is number 10, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson from 54. Now, number 9 is The Haunting of Hill House, which I also read for the channel too. It's by Shirley Jackson. I had the date, but it's not on my phone. Sorry about that. I think it's from the 50s. The Haunting of Hill House has also been turned into a few films. Love them lots. They're very creepy, nicely done, and that sort of thing too. I think this definitely sort of makes the haunted house. I think it sort of canonizes it and puts a lot of those sort of things. It's not the first haunted one, but I think it's so successful, so strongly well done, and so gorgeously detailed with lots of world building and lots of descriptions. That's great too. Yeah, I think it's great. I think Shirley Jackson nails this novel all up down the box. Now, number 8 is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which I read back when I was at college. I was actually in taking a school, something called the Philosophy of Evil, an honors class at West Virginia University. While I was there, we had to choose. We had to read some stuff for it, and then we could choose whatever we wanted to after that. And I chose Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I thought it would be a nice take, and it's so strong. Well, it's never been done well in a film. So the central concept that you might be thinking of is it's also the first science fiction book, but what it's key here is that the creature that is created isn't evil. It's just a normal person, right? But but it's obviously not pretty, but it's actually totally amoral, right? We treat it bad, and so it treats us badly, and that sort of thing too. So our own prejudgments and conceptions made it the evil creature that it is, right? It's not that sort of thing, and I love that take. No film has done that part even justice, let alone tried, right? So that's Frankenstein by Mary Shelley from 1818. Number 7 is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien from 1937. I know this is more geared towards kids and that sort of young adults and that sort of thing too, but I absolutely loved it. Loved it so much. It's still one of my favorites. And I've actually read the first edition for this channel. Did you know that the first edition actually was kind of like the first edition of Star Wars where he changes some things around? and so he goes back and rewrites it for The Lord of the Rings. And when he, a couple decades later, when he realizes all the changes that had to be made, and that sort of thing too, right? Because he realizes what the ring is. And that sort of thing too. So he actually goes back and changes that up, just like the George Lucas did in his Star Wars films. Right, so that's number 7, The Hobbit, where the legendary journey of Samwise Gamgee for the dwarves, the unexpected party going to Smaug and Lonely Mountain and up in the mountain against the big bad of the era. Love it lots. Please, an absolute classic. Number 6 is the collection I Robot by Isaac Asimov, published and collected in 1950. This is a collection of short stories that are all in the same world and are loosely connected. And so the idea here is that what's happening is you have a group of things that are happening together in robot. You have these 3 laws of robotics that Asimov creates and popularizes here too, and then. So you will see them in action and then see a bunch of different things. Love it lots. Have read it a few times. I think it's an absolute strong thing. It didn't win a Hugo at the time, but actually has won a retroactive Hugo too because of how influential it was. Strong stuff. Love it lots. Now number 5 is back where the invasion of the fantasy stuff happens. This is Dragons of Twilight, the first Dragonlance novel. It's from '84 by Marco Weiss and Tracy Hickman for you folks. I love it. Great stuff. Read it when it was getting published because I remember I was born in '76, so I would have been 8, right or 10. That sort of thing too. Read it when it was published. Loved it lots. It's great stuff. And I followed them to everything that they've written since, from the Dark Sword series that I also went back and read for this trilogy to the Twins and trilogies and that sort of thing too. The next series. On to the Earthgate stuff. Love them lots. So I think you'll enjoy them and stuff too. I think it's so strong world building, so strong stuff, their own world that they have created. Love it lots. Strong stuff. Love it. It's an absolute classic. Into my mind. Number 4 is Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein in '59. This did also win the Hugo as well the next year, and that sort of a thing too. This is my favorite Heinlein novel. I've read a few of them here and there, but I think that this one just stands up. I read it for this channel, loved it lots, that sort of thing too. I think it's just some strong, well-written stuff, well-written concepts. Love the military science fiction side of this thing, and the Marine Troopers, all that stuff too. Space Marines, you can definitely tell. I think it's the best military science fiction novel, and I've loved military science fiction ever since I was a kid, reading battletech stuff. And this is my opinion the best of that genre. All right, so the next one is number 3, top 3 down, and this is Gods of Bagana, also a collection by Lord Dunsany. It was published earlier on. So basically, this is sometimes people will go into it and be like, I don't get this, right? And that sort of thing. But I think it's because right here's what's happening. This is a collection of mythoses for a brandly new created mythos, if you will, the Gods of Bagana. So basically, the idea of what's happening here is that you have these characters that are being created in all these different short stories that are here too. All sometimes very, very short, are their sort of creation stuff and that sort of thing too. So I consider this basically, if you will, the gods and demigods source book for Dungeons and Dragons, right? So you go, you read it, you read all the stories, you read how they interact with each other, all the background, all that stuff too. Right, that's what this is. This is basically a source book for the Gods of Bagana. Lord Dunsany was a guy who he didn't have to write. He was living good, but he wrote as a passion. So this is a passion project. Nobody wanted to publish it, so he self-published it. Love lots. All right, number 2 also won the Hugo from 1960. I also reviewed this for the show. I love it lots. This is Hot House by Brian Aldiss. Now, the science in the science fiction really isn't that sciencey. He's totally forgetting stuff. But basically, what happens is a post-apocalyptic world. The Earth has stopped spinning on its axis, so one side is super hot, and that side has been taken over by vegetables, and that sort of thing too, and by the creatures, and and us as humans and other sort of creatures aren't good for that era. Make sense? And so we are not designed for these giant creatures that are now giant plants that are now taking the world. I love it. It's crazy. It's got some great ideas. It's got some great scientific scenes. And that sort of thing too. So that's Hot House, number 2. And now number 1 is The Lave of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is from '71. I wish it had won Hugo. It's a classic. to my minds. I've seen these mini series that I wish they make it a movie that was more proper to describe basically what's happening in here. And this is a sort of dystopian world where basically our key character dreams at night and realizes that his dreams, according to him, have changed the world, and he's actually got memory of it. So he goes to a psychologist, and the psychologist realizes what records him and also realizes that it's true too, so he tries to come up with a world that is better suited for himself, right? Just because right now he's just a boarder. He's considered kind of this crazy guy, right? And that sort of thing too. So he wants to give himself some nice money, and set up well, and all that sort of thing too, right? So that's The Lazy of Heaven. I love it. I think it's an absolute classic to my mind. All right, so here are my top 10 novels once again. Number 10, I Am Legend, Richard Matheson. Number 9 is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Number 8 is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Number 7 is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Number 6 is I, Robot by Asimov. Number 5 is Dragons of the Twilight by Weiss and Hickman. Number 4 is Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein. Number 3 is The Gods of Begana by Lord Dunsany. Number 2 is Hot House by Brian Aldiss. And number 1 is The Lazy of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin for you folks. So there you are. There's my next channel. Again, I'll link you to this for the previous 10, which has novels in it like The Spire of Heaven by Arthur C. Clarke and the 3 book novels that I mentioned earlier. And that sort of thing to see too. The Lord of the Rings, Michael Moorcock's, and that sort of thing to see. You can check it out and see what you think about those too. Alright, and then let me know what your thoughts are. Now, have you read these top 10 novels? If you so, or collections in the case of Gods Begun and I, Robot. And if so, what did you think about them? And would you agree that this is the right order of them or not? What are your next 10 novels? Happy to engage with it in the comments below. Remember, I'm not a paid, I'm not somebody who is actually trained as a critic of literature or English. I didn't study either of those in college, right? So I'm just a fan, right? So that means your opinion really does mean as much to mine as because I'm not coming from an area of criticism, right? Of literary aspects or anything like that. Do so. I'm definitely interested in what you think about in the comments below. As a reminder, like I mentioned before, I do a bunch of these top 10s and that sort of thing too, so links will be below. Next week, I have already pulled out some novels for the next one and that sort of a thing too. And then we're going to move to the dense numbers of stuff with short stories. Short stories I typically love more than novels. And I've read tons of great stuff for this channel, or just previous stuff too. So those who have already started to come up with a bunch of lists for. That will be a long list because I feel like the short stories, because in the pulp era, short stories tend to be the more popular thing. People would write short stories 4 or 5 a week in some cases, right? Whereas a novel maybe once every 3 months, and that sort of a thing too. So there's a lot of great stuff to pull from that I've pulled out there from folks, as well as stuff from the modern era too, or novellas too. I'm also going to count that too. So there are tons of great stuff and that sort of thing too. All right, so you'll also see one more represented, which is one of my favorite genres. I'll throw it too. But there you are. So that'll be happening too. Just as a heads up. After I finish this out next week with my top 30 novels. Actually 31 because I had the Arthur C. Clarke novel at my honorable mention. But you get the idea. All right. So check out stuff, and that sounds great. Also on Wednesday, the older video game reviews. Right now I'm reviewing the Fallout series. Here's Fallout 4. Next is Fallout 76. And then after that, I have on them Saturdays, I do serial Saturdays that I call, which are dedicated to the forgotten movie storytelling genres of serials, movie serials, TV serials, that sort of thing too. I am currently reading the Dick Tracy series from Republic. We just did Dick Tracy. Now next is Dick Returns, which will be published tomorrow. So check that stuff out. A lot of those things are definitely some key things here. And then on Monday, I do things of older reviews of things in board games like Battletech or RPGs like Middle-earth Role-Playing or Dungeons and Dragons. So check out that stuff too. Right now I'm reviewing the UK series. I also done a bunch of module reviews by Gary Guy. It's probably done 30 or 40 of them by now. So you can check that out too. And then the other 3 days a week, I do the reviews of the things I talked about earlier on, or things in the science fiction, fantasy, and horror genres too. All that good stuff for you folks. So those 7 reviews, plus the occasional Let's Play too of older games, sounds like your cup of tea? Then great. Welcome to the channel and have a seat. I think you'll enjoy your time here quite a bit, right? And while you're here, why not do all the YouTube stuff? Like hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon to be notified of the 7 videos, plus the occasional Let's Plays too, and all this stuff too, as well as, share, like, all that stuff too. But basically, watch and share. Those are the key ways of growing this channel for you folks. All right, so there you go. So if you enjoyed that stuff, you can tell from all the titles of it and that sort of a thing too. It's the passion of this channel, these older things. Let's see what we're talking about. The worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, J.R.R, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old stuff. And this definitely some older stuff we might have forgotten about in our passion for the new novel, the new video game, the new movie, the new album. We have sometimes forgotten that these things are standing on the shoulders of giants. So let's check out those giants. It's not that they're bad, they're right. By default, they're not. But, in that passion for the new sensations, that's what we need to check out some of those things, like these novels. Almost all these novels were published a few decades ago. Some of them a century ago. So check them out all up and down for you folks. And there you go. Alrighty, so as you can tell, I want to thank you so very, very much for just taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my videos, because we all have so many things that are happening right in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions too, right? So in fact, you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.